As you are aware, we are gathered here today to deliberate on the underlisted bills referred to the Committee for the Establishment of Federal Institutions in different locations in the country. Having concluded debate on the general principle and proposal legislative scrutiny by this Honorable Committee, the bills are as follows. 1. A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of Technology, Asaba, Delta State. And the second one is a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal College of Education, Keana, Nassarawa State, HB 439. The two bills are sponsored by the minority leader, Honorable Ilumelu, the man of God as we know him here, and of course our able friend, Honorable Nalaraba, respectively. As you must have heard or may be aware, the committee's mandate covers largely the oversight of all federal institutions, federal universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, and polytechnics, from where it derives its name, where the remaining jurisdiction include, among others. And in exercise of the committee's mandate of lawmaking, which is one of our constitutional functions as legislators, we deem it appropriate to subject the bills to public scrutiny in order to elicit input from not only relevant ministries, departments, and agencies, but from the general public. We are therefore optimistic that at the end of the exercise, your contribution will go a long way to further enrich the spirit and provision of the bills, which will also enable the committee to do justice to the bill, which is part of our legislative tradition, practice, and procedures of lawmaking, or new or amendment of existing acts, or the establishment of entirely new ones. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, and invited guests, you will agree with me that it is obvious we are faced with challenges of adequate and quality tertiary education in the country, where each year a lot of our children desiring to acquire tertiary education don't get admission as a result of several factors, among which is allocation of certain number of slots for admission based on quota system, which of course cannot accommodate all candidates, even all the necessary requirements for admission are met. This challenge is partly due to inadequate tertiary institution in the country, which would adequately accommodate the yearly quest for admission by Nigerians. Hence, the ardent need to establish more tertiary institutions in the country to address such recurring challenges. It is gratifying to note that as true representatives of the people, members of the House have been sponsoring bills and motions to correct these anomalies, and these bills are part of such effort at establishing more institutions, and if passed into law, will ameliorate the suffering for the quest for tertiary education and improve the effective and efficient operation of not only tertiary institutions, but JAM being the body charged with admission in Nigeria.
These institutions, once established, will hopefully serve to ensure that more of our people have access to education that prepares them to contribute to and benefit from the 21st century knowledge economy. The fact that this hearing is holding today when the National Assembly is on recess and members are presumably away from legislative business emphasizes our belief that education is the silver bullet that solves many of our national problems, and as such always deserves our highest commitment and best efforts. While we seek to create new federal institutions of higher learning, we must not lose sight of the unfortunate fact that too many of the institutions that already exist have not lived up to the expectation of world-class excellence. The reasons for this are many and include financial limitations, failings of policy development and implementation, and the absence of a tertiary education policy plan that reflects current realities, amongst others. However, we must also consider that the statutory foundation of these institutions have also contributed to the dysfunction that causes them to fail to meet their highest potential. As we work on this bill, we have a responsibility to ask ourselves to what extent the establishment status of existing institutions have limited their ability to innovate, including by entering into partnership that add real value in terms of research and development, governance improvements, among others such. We also have a responsibility to engage as many voices as possible to jointly seek ways we can use the instrument of legislation to improve the foundation upon which we build these institutions. If we do this, we'll succeed in creating new centers of higher education that are set off from the onset to meet the high expectation we all rightly have. The importance of today's public hearing is further underscored by the presence of so many critical stakeholders who have come to contribute and to make their voices heard. Mr. Chairman and my honorable colleagues on the committee, I encourage you to take advantage of the presence of this assemblage of well-intentioned citizens, receive, collect, and contemplate on all their contributions, even those that may appear to conflict with pre-existing positions or expectations, so that from the multitude of voices we may forge a common purpose and achieve excellence. The tradition of public hearings exists to allow public voices to influence the legislative policy-making process and improve outcomes. It is a noble tradition, and I am glad that so many of you have gathered to participate in today's edition. I equally just as pleased to have the honor of declaring this hearing open to the glory of God and in the service of the Nigerian people.
60 of us. I'm the only one lucky to be voted by the president. Not even voted, we came from the same constituency, the same local government, the same ward, just difference of polling unit. Well, that is personal. The leaders of the House of Representatives and other honorable colleagues, we are indeed honored by your presence and speech. Let me at this juncture especially thank His Excellency Senator Dr. Otto.
Day of December 2019, I led a debate on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal College of Education, Keana, Nassarawa State, and the House deliberated on it, on its general principles, and referred same to this committee, hence this public hearing. It is worthy to note that education is a crucial sector in any nation, and it is a fundamental responsibility of the government under the Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, to provide adequate educational opportunities at all levels to every citizen. Being a major investment in human capital development, education plays a critical role in long-term productivity and growth at both micro and macro levels. It goes a long way to say that without education, a nation cannot get the needed manpower for material advancement and enlightenment of the citizens. In Awaido Keana Federal Constituency, it has, however, become pertinent to establish the Federal College of Education, Keana, to address the current imbalance in the establishment of federal colleges of education in the state, and to bridge the gap of non-existent tertiary institution in federal constituency. This will go a long way in creating favorable atmosphere for educational development, a long way in creating for educational development in constituency and some neighboring states. Despite the dense and growing population of the constituency and apparently having more educational potentials, the federal constituency has no single tertiary institution, and Nassarawa State has no established Federal College of Education. the constituents are in dire need of a tertiary institution to fill the huge literacy gap and address the concern of those whose future bleak by establishing a tertiary institution that guarantees continuity of youth education in the constituency.
In Keana, in Nassarawa State, as sponsored by our member. And Mr. Chairman, permit me to briefly introduce some of the people that are here with me. Sir, I have our elder brother, Mr. Jonah Obole, a retired secretary of government and a former chairman of the Federal Civil Service Commission. Please stand up. Former member of the Federal Civil Service Commission. Sir, we have Dr. Yusuf Abdullahi Oguzebe, the one in Keana. We have Professor Otaki Alanana. Is a member of the State Executive Council, a commissioner representing the leadership of the House and members of this House in general, and the chairman and members of this very honorable committee, for the privilege of presence and the positive and speedy consideration of the bill presented by the honorable member representing our federal constituency, Honorable Abubakar Hassan Nalaraba, my younger brother. We acknowledge the sterling performance of the National Assembly evidenced by the numerous bills and resolutions passed that have direct bearing with public welfare. In particular, we appreciate that out of so many bills before this committee and the House, you have listed the bill for the establishment of a Federal College of Education in Keana today. And we want to especially thank Honorable Limelu for what you have said about today's sitting. We thank you very much, my dear brother. Mr. Speaker, please convey, Mr. Chairman, sir, convey to Mr. Speaker, principal officers and honorary members of the House, the assurances of our support and prayers. We are very, very proud of this 9th National Assembly. Keana, the headquarters of Keana local government in present-day Nassarawa State, is a historic salt mining and trading community that flourished since the 15th century. Various accounts of history indicate affinity and friendship with its neighbors, kith and kin in Arochukwu, Nsuka, Erin in the southeast, Yala in Cross River State, and part of the northeast, especially with the Jukuns of Borno, Yobe, Gombe, and Taraba states. This is in addition to its very firm roots in the north-central zone, particularly in Plateau South, in Benue South, and in Kogi East and Kogi West senatorial districts. Keana, in Awe, Doma, and Keana Federal Constituency of Nassarawa State, has a land area of approximately 1,550 kilometers and is located at the far end of Nassarawa State. It shares common boundary with Benue State and is bounded by Awe, Doma, and Obi local government areas. Oil and hydrocarbon prospecting is currently ongoing in the locality, in addition to other natural resources such as lead, barytes, and zinc. Western education in Keana. The history of Western education in Keana dates back to 1916, when the then Sudan United Mission, SUM, established a primary school in Keana, which is the first formal Western education establishment in the present-day Nassarawa State. In fact, not only Nassarawa State, Nassarawa, Benue, and Plateau states. The request for the establishment, today the community has a number of, the community at environs has a number of primary and secondary schools. The request for the establishment of Federal Government College in Keana is predicated on the fact that there is no Federal College of Education in the entire Nassarawa State. Furthermore, a similar request for the establishment of this institution was made by the community to the then government of President Ebele Jonathan in 2015. Consequently, the sponsor of this private members' bill by the honorable member representing this community is long desired. Mr. Chairman, if the bill is passed by the House, the community promised 1,000 hectares of land free of compensation, donation of local government secretariat of about 120 offices, the local government staff quotas, a e-library, and a number of private houses.
Of the establishment of a Federal College of Education, Keana. Our stand is predicated on the need for every state to have a federal college of education in tandem with federal character principle. Presently, the Nassarawa State does not have a federal college of education. Thus, we support the establishment of one in the states. Now, from the bill, for a bill for an act to establish federal college in Keana, Nassarawa State, to provide full-time courses in teaching, instruction, and training in technology, applied sciences, etc., etc. It's our opinion or suggestion that the proposed institution should be a technical one. Thus, we advise that the name should read Federal College of Education, Technical, Keana, Nassarawa. Going by the format of the bill, it will be better to conform with the provisions of the 1986 Federal College of Education Act, where presently, with the recent 6 new colleges in the various geopolitical zones, we now have 27 Federal Colleges of Education, which has a law encompassing all of them. So we are pleading that the schedule of the list of the Federal Colleges of Education should be one, in tandem with, whereas all the laws should just be the same thing, with minor variations, which one is conventional and which one is technical. Based on the above, the schedule list of all federal education in the Act be amended to increase the number of additional federal colleges of education the National Assembly may resolve.
Supports the bill for a new college of education in Keana, Nassarawa State. But one specific prayer I want to make to the House is that it's only the college of education in Nigeria that their bills have not been amended. The one for universities have been done, the one for polytechnics have been done, but it's only the one for college of education in Nigeria. And it has passed the third reading in 8th Senate, only waiting for the presidential assent. Before there were bottlenecks, it was not done. We are representing it again to the 9th Assembly. So we are praying to this House, the National Assembly, to help us to pass the College of Education bill so that all these problems will be taken care of, including the new proposed Keana Federal College of Education to be established. If it is done, the issue of manpower and funding will be a thing of the past.
Honorable Musa Eli Abdullahi, a former member of the House of Reps, 1999, a former Honorable Minister of State for Justice, and many others. Nassarawa State, as you all know, is one of the states in the country, and it's the only state in the country that I know that does not have a federal college of education, whether technical or otherwise. So it is just fair and equitable that the state also gets a federal college of education. Now, with reference to Keana in particular, the history of Western education in the entire Nassarawa state started in Keana in 1916, when the first primary school was established. And so when you go by historical antecedents, it will be a good legacy for the federal government to recognize this feat and put a federal college of education there. For the local environment, there is a very big secretariat, local government secretariat that has over 120 offices, in addition to so many committee rooms that can serve as classrooms. There is also the staff quarters. The land is fertile, the land is vast, the land is serene, and the community is ready to give 100,000 hectares of land free of charge without compensation. It's bounded by Benue State, so it means that you can have students from Nassarawa and Benue in the school. So the entire federal constituency of Keana Wedoma has no tertiary institution. So therefore, we believe that it's a worthy request. And this is not the first time that we are making the request. A similar request was made to the executive in 2015. And since then, the community has been ready, and we are ready to donate as many public and private buildings as possible. So the takeoff of the institution is not a problem at all. The road to the place is tarred. The place is connected to the national grid. The road enjoys good water, and there is food and good land for people that are ready to go into agriculture. And then there is also the discovery of hydrocarbon now. So it's a place that if you put an institution like this, the issue of revenue and other things will not be a big problem.